Hello, I'm Elif and this is a recap for episode 44 of the series One Love, 24 hours after Turkey and before dubbed for TV. Ertuğrul and Kızılcık talk to each other, and Ertuğrul confesses his feelings towards her, saying, "You changed my life. My life used to revolve only around my work and my daughter, but now my priorities have changed. I want to see you every day. I really want to." Kızılcık, feeling overwhelmed, asks Ertuğrul to give her time to think. Ertuğrul says, "Whatever decision you make, our friendship remains intact." When Kızılcık arrives home, Doğa is waiting for her, and with a heavy heart, she informs Kızılcık that Omar's condition is critical and he is currently in the operating room. Kızılcık bursts into tears bitterly. At the hospital, everyone is waiting for news from the operating room when Omer arrives and tells Abdullah to be by her side. Cranberry immediately stands up and says, "Are you not leaving us alone even here? Get lost." Omer replies, "This is not the time for this nonsense." Fatih attacks Omer, and Abdullah escorts Omer away. Shortly after, the doctor announces that the surgery was successful, and the results will be known in a few days. Everyone feels a bit relieved. The news reaches Kızılcık, and she also feels happy. She cannot wait and goes to the hospital to see Omer. When Rüzgar learns about Omar's condition, he goes to the hospital to inquire about his well-being and, ultimately, converses with Abdullah with courtesy and respect, albeit with a hint of sarcasm. Saying, "May God grant you patience," and leaves. Cranberry, during a family gathering at night, tells Mustafa to finalize his partnership with Soğumez sooner. Doğa, upon hearing Cranberry's insulting remarks to her family, gets angry and leaves the room. Kızılcık at the hospital requests to see Omer up close. She speaks to the unconscious Omer behind the glass, saying, "Don't do this to us. For the sake of Metehan and us, you must recover. Be well and be with someone else. Just knowing you're here is enough." In the room, Fatih asks Doğa not to take his mother's words seriously and says, "She sacrificed years of her life for my father. Now she's lost everything." Doğa replies, "She didn't sacrifice. We're all alone in this life. Relying on someone is easy. Blaming others is easier. But she must see the reality. Why does everyone blame my aunt? Weren't your parents part of the problem?" Fatih, angered, doesn't continue the argument and leaves the room. A few days later, Omer returns home having recovered. Abdullah thanks God for the miracle and reproaches Omer for his recklessness. Omer says he didn't mean to disrupt others' lives. Omer returns home with Abdullah and comes face to face with Kızılcık and Soğumez. Soğumez scoffs, "Aren't you ashamed to come here?" Omer replies, "Why should I be ashamed? I've come back home." Soğumez retorts, "This isn't your home. You didn't just tear apart our family. Didn't you think about your own family?" Omer responds, "Why is everyone blaming me? Why don't you talk to your father?" Soğumez says, "I know everything. Even when my father expressed interest in you, I heard. If you hadn't encouraged him, none of this would have happened. Why didn't you tell him it's not possible when he approached you?" Omer says, "You're a womanizer. If a man doesn't care about his family, what can I do? He should have thought about it, not me." Mary sees Metehan at school and happily suggests they go for coffee together. At that moment, a girl grabs Metehan's hand, and Metehan introduces her girlfriend to Mary, who feels upset but doesn't show it. She sees pictures of Metehan's girlfriend on her page at night and tries to mimic her gestures but fails. Rüzgar goes wearily to see Cranberry to discuss what happened. Rüzgar says, "My father had this problem too. When men are near death, they get involved with younger women. I just don't understand why I was left for another man." "What did your husband have?" Cranberry says, "Nothing. It has nothing to do with my husband. It's Omer's issue. She's been after Abdullah. It's not about love." Rüzgar agrees with Cranberry's words. They talk for a while, and Cranberry finally says, "Maybe you're upset now, but God has been merciful to you. Omer wouldn't have been a good wife or mother." Cranberry doesn't let them off easily, and Rüzgar says, "Consider me in this too." Despite his reluctance, Mustafa goes to see Soğumez to talk about the dinner. Before he can say anything, Soğumez understands what's going on. Mustafa says with bitterness, "I didn't want this. You're not at fault. But my mother is very angry." Soğumez agrees, "Your mother has every right." Mustafa hugs Soğumez and apologizes. Kızılcık receives a gift from Ertuğrul. Seeing a portrait of herself drawn by her favorite artist, she becomes very happy and thanks Ertuğrul. At night, Doa, tired of Panbear's homelessness and tantrums, tells her, when Fateh betrayed me, you said it was a mistake. What's our fault now? Why are you behaving like this? Panbear replies, your husband had a one-night stand. My husband tore his family apart. They're not the same. I would never leave my family over a one-night incident. At night, Kızılcık wonders why she's hesitant about Ertuğrul. She says to herself, Ertuğrul is a very good man. Now that Omer is better, he's part of our lives. Why am I hesitating? She calls Ertuğrul and tells him she's thought about it, and her answer is positive. The next day, Ertuğrul goes to see Kızılcık with a bouquet of flowers. Olev, upon hearing about the fallout between Mustafa and his mother, goes to talk to Soğanmez. Soğanmez doesn't give her a chance and says, do you know how many lives you've ruined? Do you think you're doing any good with this love? Olev says she'll solve everything. But when she sees her mother isn't satisfied, she says, I'll leave your house and go. Soğanmez says, it's not necessary. When Abdullah got tired of playing, I want you to have somewhere to stay. Olev leaves with disappointment. Panbear receives Abdullah's divorce request and calls him. After cursing him heavily, she says, I won't divorce you. Losing control, she goes to him after seeing Doa leaving and tries to take Cemre from him, saying her custody is with Fateh. Doa is shocked, and Nisama and Nilay intervene with Panbear. Omer sees the bouquet of flowers sent by Kızılcık among the flowers he received and happily contacts her, saying they need to talk. Kızılcık goes to see Olev to talk about Doa's bad situation, hoping to change her mind. But she notices Olev's engagement ring and gets angry, saying, Panbear is wrecking her life. You'll regret it, but it'll be too late. Abdullah goes to Panbear's house to talk to her, and the children scold him for the troubles she's caused. Abdullah says, I'm sorry, but Olev isn't to blame. I'm the one at fault for all of this. At home, Omer tells Kızılcık the truth, confessing that he got sick after the accident and didn't want Kızılcık to suffer, so he decided to lie. He admits that the story of falling in love and having an affair with another woman was a lie. Kızılcık is shocked. Panbear tells Abdullah again that she won't separate from him. They argue heatedly when Olev enters and stands next to Abdullah. Everyone is shocked. Panbear says, you envied our happiness from the beginning. You swore to ruin our lives. Her eyes fall on Olev's ring, and she says, is your heart set on this gem? Olev responds, blame your children instead of us. They all knew everything but didn't tell you. Nisama heard everything a year ago when your husband expressed affection for me. Omid has been aware from the start. Nilay warned me several times to stay away from you. Mustafa sent me a message with his father's phone to catch us. You took the main blow from your children, whom you love so much. Panbear looks at her children in disbelief. Olev and Abdullah leave the house hand in hand. Panbear goes to her room, followed by Nilay, and tearfully says, we couldn't tell you our home was falling apart. How could we say it? Panbear says, I know what to do. First, Fateh and Doa, then Omid and Nisama will separate. We'll go back to the days when we didn't know them and were happy. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.